Write an apology to my brother's bully? Okay, grabs thesaurus. So as a younger lad, I went to boarding school in the UK. Mine was quite something. Kind of like Hogwarts, just without the magic. Now for the uninitiated, boarding school is basically like prison, but less stabby. Back then, late 90s, we were just coming to the end of older kids are in charge, and the beginning of the era of whiny little brats mouthing off. Anyway, by this point I was a sixth former, 17 to 18 years old, and my younger brother was in the same house. Boarding house equals prison wing, and a fourth former, 13 to 14 years old. At boarding school, there's a pecking order, and if you're a fourth former, you're on the crap end of the stick at the beginning of Crap Creek with a paddle made of doo-doo. A sixth former tells you to jump, you don't even ask how high. You go for a world record. That being said, I wasn't one of those sixth formers. I'd been through the crap as a younger kid. I'd have the ever-living crap beaten out of me a few times. I'd run dozens of menial errands and face down my own fair share of bullying from my own year. I'd tell people some of the stories and watch their faces go white. But it's the crucible in which I found my confidence, my nicely balanced screw you attitude, and my absolute hatred of bullies. Screw bullies. Unfortunately, my brother wasn't rolling with the punches, so to speak. His housemates were gargantuan twats, but my brother never just became comfortable being himself. He always tried to be their friends, and as such, they kept at him. I tried to help, but he always begged me not to. So it went on for the whole year. Nothing bad, compared to the crap I went through. He was never beaten, electrocuted, etc., etc. But it was taking a toll on him. It was grinding him down. He just wanted to be friends, and these guys just kept at him. So it's the second to last day of the year. The last day is usually just a half day, and then the families come and collect us. And my brother is just done. He calls mom and just asks to be picked up a day early. Why endure another 24 hours of inescapable verbal bullying? Well, at some point in the afternoon, my mom walks into the room and says that these effing ballsacks have continued bullying him in front of my mother. She's in the dorm helping him get his stuff together, and these guys are throwing barbs across the room. Mom's pissed. Well, now I am too. I've stuck to my word to my brother and kept out of it. But now these guys are crossing lines. Not only that, but one of these kids is not even from our house. He comes into my house just to screw with my brother in front of my mother. So I follow mom to the dorm. Now the main culprit of the year of bullying is this kid, Bully 1. He's exactly the kind of bully you'd expect. He's taller and fat, but that prepubescent fat translates to strength at that age. Bully 2 is an almost embarrassing cliche, in as he's the smaller, mouthy type that uses his fat buddy to hide behind. They're both from rich Chinese families from Hong Kong. This comes into play later. So I stride into the dorm and spot Bully 2, the little shunt from another house. Before I continue, I feel I should point out that I was far from an intimidating specimen on paper. 150 pounds and a bit of fluff on my face. I'm not some mutant with a hairy back, but like I mentioned, I faced my fair amount of crap, and I'm not afraid to mix it up. I grab Bully 2 by the scruff of his shirt and pull him out of the dorm, push him against the wall, take his skateboard and place it across his neck, and then ever so directly inquire just exactly who he thought he was, disrespecting my mother like that. Well, Bully 1 wasn't happy about that. Figuring he was almost the same height as me, and probably tipping the scales in his favor, he decided to get in my face. A massive no-no as far as the unwritten rules of the school goes. And then the MFer swings at me. I'm standing next to my mother, and thus this entitled bully swings on me. His extra weight meant his hands weren't particularly fast, and I jerked my head to the side as his knuckles kissed my cheekbone. The other fourth formers actually gasped. I'll never forget that. I touched my cheekbone and calmly asked, "Bully 1, did you just hit me?" "Yeah, I effing did. What are you gonna do about it?" I'm glad he asked. At this point, I decided to show him just what I was gonna do about it. So I grabbed him by his throat and proceeded to roundhouse that little shunt in the face. It was a glorious sound. Smack! That crisp sound of slapping your hands together. But why stop there? Let's give him a round of applause, shall we? Smack, 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 and smack! At this point, one of the younger brothers of a fellow sixth former friend of mine jumps in between us, saying he's had enough. While I still debate that point, I acquiesced and left Bully 1 blubbering on the floor, and walked off with my family as Mum patted me on the back with a "well done." Now, we aren't stupid. We walked straight to the housemaster's office. He wasn't there. He was umpiring a cricket match against another school. So we hop in the car and drive to the other side of school. Hogwarts, remember? This place was 100 acres. And once there's a break in the game, I stride out onto the pitch and immediately say, "Sir, I just walloped Bully 1 for a bloody good reason." At this point, I can see Bully 1 staggering down to the pitch while being supported by a housemate. He's even put a band-aid on his face. He's really milking it, but suddenly spots me and my mum talking to his only salvation, and he knows he's rumbled. Now, boarding school isn't necessarily about the rules. It's about justice. So many things get dealt with in school, and you wouldn't believe the crap that never got back to the parents. They weren't ignorant about the bullying my brother was receiving, but they were going with the whole, "let's see if this works itself out" approach. They wanted us to learn to stick up for ourselves, blah blah blah. However, a sixth former delivering a multitude of roundhouses to a younger boy's face is not something you can hide from parents paying tens of thousands of pounds a year. So I was let go, but the issue was not done. Back at school the next term, and the parents of both boys wanted blood. The headmaster was relatively new at the school, and was, to put it mildly, a jerk. He wasn't about the old ways and was a dick about many things. He found a casual way to bring it up in conversation to me about how there had to be punishment. I agreed. I don't think he was expecting that. But, I continued, I'm more than willing to accept a week's suspension for what equated to 2 minutes of bullying if, oh crap, there's an if, you also punish the bullies of my brother, and they were doing it for a year, so I guess you'll have to suspend them for a few years. Cue some very British muttering, and suddenly it seemed like this was one of those times where it was getting swept under the rug. Clearly not. There must have been some behind-the-scenes negotiation with the parents, because a few weeks later, I was told that I would need to write a letter of apology to the parents of Bully 1. Oh, really? Now, as I mentioned, both of the kids were from Hong Kong, but also Chinese. English is not their first language, and their parents' understanding of it was significantly less. The thing about us Brits is we're really good at sounding like we're saying one thing, while at the same time sinking the knife in with a smile on our face. I decided to follow this instinct with gusto. I sat down with one of my friends and a thesaurus, and wrote what I'm still regarding to be one of my finest pieces of work. We deliberately used overcomplicated terms to mask what was in no way whatsoever an apology. But it sounded like one. While it was littered with terms that sounded apologetic, to any native English speaker, it was clearly putting 100% of the blame on the crappy little crotch goblin they produced, while at the same time suggesting if he does it again, he'll be getting more of the same. I signed off, and then couldn't resist a postscript. P.S. I hope Bully 1 didn't suffer any permanent injuries. which of course is fluent British for, "I sincerely hope it effing hurt when I smacked your son in the face repeatedly." I sealed that envelope like you would seal away toxic waste. I couldn't run the risk of the school reading it because I'd be totally rumbled, and placed it on my housemaster's desk. But 2 days later, after lunch roll call, my housemaster singles me out and asks I follow him to his office. Damn it. Play it cool. I follow along, nonchalant as hell, and we go to his office. It's about the letter to Bully One's parents. Damn. At this point I'm thinking, oh well, I gave it a good go. But my housemaster continues. "I had it typed up for you," and hands me a pristine typed up version of my apology. "I just need you to sign it." I look down. It's word for word. And right there, under where I'm supposed to sign, is a postscript just as I wrote it. Just sitting there all by itself. P.S. I do hope Bully One didn't suffer any permanent injuries. You damn legend. With a smile on my face, I gladly signed the final haymaker and had it sent on its way. Sometimes school isn't about the rules, it's about the justice. Because screw bullies. This is a great story, because not only does it have that juicy justice that you'd expect in a pro-revenge story, but at the same time it has those key elements you want in a malicious compliance. Excellent through and through. Alrighty guys, that's gonna wrap it up for today. I hope you enjoyed the story, and if you did and you liked the way I told it, well then maybe consider subscribing. And if you really liked it, then maybe consider giving it a thumbs up and a share. Anyways, I'll see you in the next one. Peace out.